My ex-husband's new wife told me I was going to die alone and miserable, and I just smiled and said I'd see her at Christmas. I was married for 12 years to a man who decided I wasn't enough anymore. He left me for Mallory, a 22-year-old from his gym, and the divorce nearly destroyed me. He told everyone I was crazy and bitter, and people believed him because he was charming and I was just the tired wife. The worst part wasn't losing him because honestly, good riddance. The worst part was that because of our kids, I had to see Mallory at every custody exchange, every school event, every soccer game, always finding new ways to remind me that she won. The comments started small. She'd look me up and down at pickup and say it was so brave of me to just throw on whatever. She'd whisper to other moms that she understood why he'd been so unhappy, just loud enough for me to hear. She'd tilt her head with fake sympathy and ask if I'd tried the dating app since she heard they were less intimidating for older women. I took it all with a smile because my kids were watching, and I refused to become the bitter ex-wife he'd told everyone I was. Then came my daughter's 8th birthday party, and Mallory cornered me alone in the kitchen while I was holding the cake. She put her hand on my arm and said, "I need to tell you something, mother to mother." She told me my daughter had been calling her Mommy Mallory at home, and that my son asked if she could come to school events instead of me because the other kids think she's cooler. Then she tilted her head and said, "I'm not trying to replace you, but maybe you should think about whether you're really giving them what they need." She delivered all of this with a concerned smile like she was doing me a favor, and I just stood there with tears burning in my eyes because I couldn't defend myself without ruining the party. 2 months later, I met Henry at a friend's dinner party. He was 20 years older than me, recently retired, and he actually listened when I talked instead of waiting for his turn to speak. We talked for 3 hours that night, and he asked for my number before dessert. I almost didn't give it to him because I'd convinced myself that romance was over for me, but something made me take the risk. Over the next few months, he told me about his daughter who he'd grown distant from, someone spoiled and mean who'd married a man he couldn't stand. I told him about Mallory and the birthday party ambush, and he squeezed my hand and said I deserved so much better. He proposed on a Sunday morning in his kitchen. No big production, just the two of us and a ring he'd picked himself, and I said yes before he finished asking. 2 weeks later, I was looking at photos on his bookshelf when I saw her face. Mallory in a graduation gown standing next to a younger Henry. I actually laughed out loud because the universe has a sick sense of humor. I could have ended things to avoid the chaos, but I'd fallen in love honestly with a good man, and I wasn't giving that up because his daughter was a monster. So I told Henry everything. Every cruel comment, every tear I'd cried in my car after custody exchanges. When I finished, he said he loved me, and nothing his daughter had done would change that. The engagement party was at Henry's house on a Saturday in June. Mallory didn't know I existed until she walked through the door with my ex-husband behind her and saw me standing in her father's living room wearing a ring that matched his. Her face cycled through confusion, recognition, and then something I'd never seen on her before, which was fear. My ex-husband froze in the doorway like he'd walked into the wrong house. Henry started to move toward them, but I put my hand on his arm because this moment belonged to me. I walked straight to Mallory and said, "It's so lovely to finally meet you properly, mother to mother." I watched her eyes go wide as I threw her own words back at her. Then I said, "I really hope you can make it to the wedding since my kids are so excited to have a new grandpa who actually shows up for them." Mallory's eyes darted to her father, desperate for him to take her side, but Henry just pulled me closer and didn't say a word. My ex-husband finally found his voice and said, "What the hell is happening right now?" I looked at him and said, "I moved on." Henry told Mallory that if she couldn't treat his future wife with basic respect, she should leave his house and not come back. Mallory grabbed my ex-husband's arm and dragged him out without a word. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. I called after her that I'd send over the details for Christmas dinner since we were all family now, and somewhere outside, I heard Mallory actually scream.